on this one. It's October 9th, and it is a Monday. I don't know, all day yesterday I was thinking it was Monday. My days have been flip-flopping. We're on day 2 of this recreation. It's really a cosmic recreation, and cosmic frequency changes inside the human bodies that is steering our collective into an astronomically tuned planetary system, is the best way to put it. The planets exist within your DNA structure because you were from the Milky Way realm. But planets also were running the human body more than we ever could have anticipated or ever thought to even believe. However, we were always made in an after-death simulation for after-death timelines to actually exist in such a small space and still have life. And it's really not a hard concept to understand if you'll just think about it for a second. Everything down here on this plane has all been about time, calendar systems, the changing of calendar systems, leap years. Realizing that every sequence and chain of events that has ever happened on a numerical sequence recreates itself when that numerical sequence comes back in. Because everything down here is frequency based. Now, there's 2 things that we know are constant, no matter if you're on the dark side or if you're in a matrix system, and it's the sun and the moon. And these are things that even if you go back in Egyptian and all the Egyptian stuff and the crescent moons, that's because that's what I'm on here talking about right now. From the dark side and from this side. So when I say the dark side, I'm talking about the dimension, the mirror dimension that became, at the end days, a matrix prison. The only reason it became a matrix prison at the end days is because the ones controlling it wanted to keep control of the human race in a small vacuum. And it became a war for physics. The higher and higher and higher that the collective went, the lower and lower and lower it was channeling these dark side suns and dark side moons. It's the nature of it. Kind of all had to be done and completed for us to hit divine timelines. There's not one step that we could have not taken. We did everything correct. But that's why at the end days, everything started getting deeper and deeper and more dark and more just what the hell. It's because the higher the collective got, the lower, if you want to call it a portal, because once those frequencies bind, it does open up that gap. Because at the same time that that was happening, literally, antimatter was folding in of itself. It's almost like the higher the collective got, the lower we had to go in a wave, just like a wave. Wave goes really, 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 really high. Well, holy crap-a-loni. How low, low, low is that wave going to hit in a sub-current? And the whole world and the mind control was run from sub-currents. Now, there's lots of information coming out to corroborate how I know all this and what the hell happened to me and my story. And one of them is that there is a supercomputer that is under the Atlantic Ocean. They say it's 200, or they say it's 200 miles down, but it's actually 250. Or if it was 2,000, it was 2,500, because that's what they put me in the chamber in my timeline 1983 to make. It also became the 4 pillars of creation, and it's the fail-safe to the human consciousness and to all connections down here. That computer system will not break, and it cannot be controlled. That's the part that the factions are waking up to and went to bed knowing last night was a fact. And all of us who've been walking this and attempting to bridge with all these different organizations and attempting to have all these connections because we thought that we could stop this. What we now know is that we were here to cause it. There's nothing that could be stopped because it all had to be blown so that the higher timelines could connect. Like I said yesterday, this is now day 2 of a 7-day creation. And on the chart today, the moon is going over Venus. Venus just moved to the new Regulus position, which in Cohu 32 is number 14. And this was the big secret. Regulus moved. It moved out of Leo. It moved out of Leo, now we know, at least 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. Regulus moving into Virgo is a big deal. Stars move, but it takes 1,000,000 years. And this was a 1,000,000-year reset for the human race. Mostly because of this Regulus movement. Regulus is like a bowling ball. If you think of the star astronomy map as a bowling ball, then you would put Regulus at the very top where your 3 fingers go in. And those 3 fingers at the top would stretch from Leo and Virgo all the way over to Aquarius and Pisces, and it governs the wheel. Regulus beings are Cygnus beings that come from the first ascension ever on this planetary level and would be called your angels, or the ones who had gone down before in this same planetary system, which is why you have guides and you have assistants in all different ways that are telling you what to do and what not to do that don't make a lot of sense to your 3D world. But realize that your Regulus beings are your angels. They's just the ones that were down here in king and queen suits in Leo. When the sun was in Leo in Egypt, Leo used to be in the first house of the wheel. Leo was in the first house. Aries was in the fifth house. That actually made more sense than starting at a dinosaur, correct? What's happening today is that Saturn retrograde is right about to leave Fomalhaut. Well, Fomalhaut is in Pisces. It's at 3 degrees Pisces. And a direct lineup from your archangels, because these are archangels, Fomalhaut to Regulus. Regulus would be your Raphael. Fomalhaut is Gabriel. And Fomalhaut is also the eye of the cosmos that all of us collective now have a part in looking through. There's no longer a veil over it. There's no longer a glass over it. There's no longer a contact lens that has been sold off in pieces of it to where you can't get up there and look out that eye. That eye is now available for everybody to jump up there and look. And that is how your ascended have been pulling this off. But then whenever we look from the dark side through an eye that's got a contact lens and it's split over here and split over there and there's paper mache and somebody's been painting on it. I mean, because literally, everything was done. Then your view gets distorted if you're looking from the dark side, if you're actually the face that goes in that eye, and then you look out and you're like, what is all that? And that's what had been going on down here. But understand too that glass and that plasma and all those different paper mache versions were made from human beings living out timelines and leaving residue of them, or repeating them so many times that the dance sequence in the song can't get out of your head, because when you look through that lens, it's all you see. What's happening today is we're cleaning this crescent moon, and we delete C from crescent. No longer can you pick up our scent on a crescent moon. No longer can you jump in to a reality on a little bitty slipped back door that was only there in order to get us out, not to be opened wider and let everybody else in. And we've got a direct connection from Venus at 0 degrees Virgo, straight up through the chart, perfect connection to 1 degree, and I think when I checked it was 5 minutes of Pisces on Saturn retrograde. So what that means is that in 5 minutes, when Saturn moves backwards out of 1 degree and heads into 0, it's out of the eye shot. You're out of the Fomalhaut eye, which if you go look it up, it does look like a big evil eye. It's red. It's way out in space. It's bloodshot to hell. But it's also the connection that brings in all those 22 star race connections in order to get them into the archangels, to make that ray down to Raphael, to make half of your archangel 4-pillar setup. Fomalhaut is also Cygnus beings. Your Fomalhaut beings are basically the ones from the dark side that probably even came down here and became your kings and queens and whatever, because they was projecting themselves from the other dimension. So over the next 24 hours, what's happening is, with all the frequency resets that our cosmos is going through right now, The moon is going to jump over Venus. And when the moon goes through 0 degree Virgo, basically, and 0 degree Pisces, basically, with Saturn retrograde right there on the outskirts of the eye, it's going to be like a shutter. I'm seeing a shutter. But it's going to blow it wide open. It's basically whatever shutter system that Saturn's backing out of, because the collective has broken this entire program, that shutter system that was a connection into Capricorn, that was allowing Capricorn to project, rewind, whatever, the frequency of the cosmos no longer, and the humans that have dictated it are outside of that shutter system now, and the collective is operating that shutter system. And that is what is happening on day 2 of recreating the cosmos. So I'm feeling, I slept late today. My energy is a little weird today. It's almost like that bottom of that wave that we're talking about is kind of where I feel like my etheric energy is. But realize that whenever I'm talking about these waves, if you was riding the high wave, your energy never left up there. I think this was the biggest misconception, and whenever I was getting thrown all around time and all these crazy events that were happening, once I realized that when I went real high and I saw the whole thing, and I knew I was connected, and I knew, and it felt like, oh wow, this is over now. We're home free. I see it. And then something would happen, and it would make me, in my human body, feel like I just went backwards somehow, even though I'm conscious, way conscious, and I knew that I was cleaning it and whatever. But really realize in your mind that your bubble, whenever you go real high, it doesn't come back down. It holds up there in a static, almost like a static charge. Almost like you went up on the wave and you posted your pole. You put a pin in it. You put a notch up there. With everybody else's, it's up there. And then it's more like you drop you drop back down into the current. However far, once you get up there, however far you need to drop down in that current within your body, within your reality, within whatever that is, it's like a lifeline and a rope that drops you back through the center, because you're at 0 point. It drops you back through the center, and it's going to send you to wherever at the very bottom needs to unhook, needs to just maybe power through something, whatever it is, so that when that wave comes back up again, you stay up there higher. And each time we do this as a collective, we go higher and higher. And each time, this has been going on for 7 years, each time we got up to these different ones, it built different ceilings for everybody. And then whenever you're one that's going to pop that bubble, I'm here to remind you, you will start questioning stuff. We have watched this over and over again, and what it is if you're at the highest bubble, and if you're holding the highest consciousness for whatever lines that you're holding, because we're all holding consciousness together as a human race, but each one of us have different connections and superpowers, if you will, within certain lines, races, etc. If you're the one to pop that bubble, what happens is consciousness runs out. You're holding it. And everyone in your collectives and everyone underneath you is questioning. You can hear their minds. And all of a sudden, you'll start going, oh my gosh, is this real? What am I doing? What's going on? And even those of us that have the most trained minds, it doesn't matter. Whenever you get to this point, what you're picking up on is the subconscious of everybody else as you're holding for that to break. Everything underneath you is getting pressure, 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 pressure. You start hearing them more and more and more and more and more. Then it kind of seeps into your energy field because you can't help it, because the consciousness, you've already pushed it as far as you can. Everybody else has got to blow a gasket in order for it to elevate. That's where we are right now. But not on a small scale. It's on a massive scale. And I felt the damn break yesterday. And then I saw what happened in Paris to the Eiffel Tower. And I knew that those binds are being unwound. And it's in process. So I just want to add that right there, because it's something that we learned over here, and it doesn't matter who you are. So just know, if all of a sudden you feel this, what am I doing? What is going on? You know, it even for the past couple of days, what I've been feeling more is like a pull to try to bring me back into more like well, I would call it an alternate storyline that most everybody else would be okay with, because it wouldn't require as much change. And so I've been having to catch myself, because I've been catching myself accidentally thinking about these lower storylines that I know have been blown, and I know that there's new ones that are forming from those experiences, because it's the only way it can form. But that's how I've been feeling this physics change, if that helps anybody too. Hey Danielle, hey Linda, thank y'all for always being here, and I hope that this is all helping y'all as we go through this together. The other thing that I'll ask is that, you know, I had, it wasn't just me over here that I had to activate as far as the bodies. It was the B negative as well. And the main the first, kind of like your first military guy. Because I always was raised in a program by others that were like me, being utilized from other families like me. Martha and Al have no idea what they're attached to on the dark side at all. Over here, we've got a pretty good idea, since we're the ones that were getting their attacks. Because our entire family lines were made to be siphoned and controlled and hidden. And Martha has really bad diabetes. She's had it. It's why Alicia died in 1972. It's why I was adopted into this family and placed into this family. But there's a lot that goes into that baby passing away at 2 days old on the dark side, which is even how this family ended up with me in the middle of it, to make sure that it never happened again. And in a lot of ways, you can say that I was a baby who went up to heaven and got sent back down to change some stuff. And I know a lot of y'all might, that rings true to you too. Once you really start understanding that all of us star seeds, that's how we became seeds, y'all. We got locked in the planetary system. We did come before them. We came long before the masses. We were sent down into this space to develop this cosmos and this world, knowing full well that when we got here, we were going to get trapped in the matrix and in a planetary system. And ground up into mulch, put into Saturn, put into Venus, whatever it was. That's why we have these connections that we have with this current human race. Now, all that being said, we had to do a massive healing on Martha. It started last year, and even the government was involved because in a lot of ways, they weren't just attacking me, they were attacking Martha because Martha's program would have overridden mine. And so there was a lot that had to be done over here with me and Martha because in a lot of she's an equinox baby as well. She was hidden in the remnants as well. She's just born in 1950 and she's got real bad diabetes and kidney disease. And I knew for a fact because of my journey she was attacked and they tried to put the skull and bones on the B negative. Because if they could control Martha, then they could control the B negative, right? I was the AB negative. I was a little bit harder nut to crack. So all the car magic and the bullshit that was over here in Cloneville was basically on Martha. Well, I'm letting you guys know to send us some energy because it has been in the hospital. Now, the hospital she's at's really weird. Nobody hardly there. She's in it's almost vacated. It's real nice and da-da-da-da-da. It's that same weird hospital story that a lot of us have. Periods in time where we were in the hospital, nobody was there. We were like, where the hell are we? Well, I haven't even been able to go visit her. And I do know that we manifested this. And it was probably best for her not to be on top of me in this house, in this energy. And this even overrides to the AC Hotel. If you were around, and I can't remember if I was on YouTube, everything got so crazy at the AC in August as we were pulling Texas out and getting rid of this handler system and changing the AC. So if you will, in a way, Martha really is in another dimension, and they've run every test on her known to man. What's happening is with her kidney disease, she's getting a heightened red blood count of potassium and creatine. That's really what's going on with her. Well, if you look up red blood, then that's oxygenated blood. So what's happening is within the B line and within the human race, everybody's getting a higher up count of creatine and oxygenated blood because we've reoxygenated the physics on this planet, and we really have rebirthed a new bloodline, which is having to flush, just like a gasoline engine. It's having to flush these new fluids through a motor that would rather have diesel. Okay? Now, I'm telling all of you this because I know I can tell you upside down, inside, and backwards, like how the parts of the body are created and how they connect and this and this and this. But the Akashic libraries that you guys have that I don't have is different earth elements to be able to help with that, and maybe some more alchemy and using whatever that we can think of together with plant medicine or because I mean even color, there's going to be all types and sounds, frequencies. You guys might have this information. So if you do, I would love if you would tell me what because we can play with it over here and I can start experimenting with her, because what they're having a hard time doing is getting that leveled off. Well, I know it's because of the healing flush that we did on her, and I know it's because we're all changing through this count. But other than that, she's stable. But she is around Taiwanese and Japanese doctors, of course. So I want everybody to know that. And her doctor is currently out of the country, which has been a theme in my world of any of these out of the country doctors or lawyers or real estate developers that were dealing with me throughout my story. It was always when shit was going down, they were just out of the country. So please also send her protection and realize that this is the B negative line, and this is the lines that were taken over by Asia and Japan, but it does all have to do with the bees and a hive mind structure that then became more of a body siphoning structure over time. Because it started out with the mind, and then slowly it just became a suction to all the different sugars and whatever if you happen to be an original bee. And this is why all of us feminines lost our Eve gene. This is how we lost all of our connections, because we were in a system that it was siphoning to the point where both collapsed. On the A side, they siphoned from the body first, and the A negative side was the first to be taken over. This is why I talk about Arabs in Saudi Arabia and why you're screwed until you come make nice with us, because we're not going to give you all of our sugar. We're not going to give you all of our thoughts. We're not going to give you everything that you think that you can just harness because you tried to put us deep in a well and sit on top of us. No, you're no longer tuned to us until you make it right. And this is also where we're seeing the complete collapse of consciousness, and the ones who thought that they were conscious and were riding a wave, but they were doing it illegally or not by divine law. And what we're going to be seeing is how quickly you lose consciousness. And if you've never been in an Orion program like I was, and if you don't know what it's like to lose consciousness, it's a trip and a half. So that's all I wanted to come on and say. I'm sending everybody love. Just remember, we're in creation, second day. Be kind to yourself. I'm having to remind myself to speak positively into my world of what I want to come next. And I don't know if it's like y'all, but I'll be fucking honest. Right now, for me, the hard thing is I feel like I birthed everything, but everything just has shit on it. It's like we walked and created through all these obstacles. We walked and dealt with all these entities. We walked through all these programs. And little pieces of it, of what we created, they're all here around us. None of it's working together in a seamless reality that's quite got us where we want, where we know that we're supposed to be. But each time I go to pick up one little piece of it, it's like it's just got shit on it. Everything that happened, everything that I had to fight for to get, everything, and it's like, and you know, we ain't talking about material things. We're talking about our children. We're talking about our families. We're talking about our homes. We're talking about stabilization in any way, because those of us who were put into a machine, literally we're in a machine, and that's why we're not stable in the real world. And I command that under this moon and this rewrite, that all the energy that was taken from us, siphoned, that we reprogrammed, claimed, and wrote this reality with the literal flesh and blood off of our bones all the way down to our marrow, I command that it line up to our full vision. And I command that the 3D Venus print for us in Virgo exactly what we all deserve.